Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Close Reader. Today, we're going to be doing a close reading of Thomas Carlyle's Past and Present, Book 2, The Ancient Monk, Chapter 10, Government. In the usual style, I'm going to be reading the main text line by line, occasionally stopping for words that I want to define or various references that I want to explain. So let's get started. If you have seen my previous videos, you will see this interface is new. It's actually a annotation visualization tool that I've created. And if you're interested in accessing a tool like this, I made a video in my sister channel called Monastic Apps. And I also made I've linked it over there, how to access this tool. I think it came out really beautiful. This is exactly the way that I wanted to be able to read through it as well as access my annotations. So you'll see things. You'll see. Let me know if you like it. All right, let's start. How Abbot Samson. Oh, by the way, so at this time. We have Abbot Samson has been elected, and he's slowly putting things in order. He's back at the monastery. The celebrations are over, and now the difficult business of actually governing the abbey has started for Abbot Samson. How Abbot Samson, giving his new subjects Theriatim the kiss of fatherhood in the St. Edmundsbury chapter house. Theriatim means taking one subject after another in regular order, point by point. So this is another ritual that they're doing in Sirius. He's giving the kiss of fatherhood to the other monks. Proceeded with cautious energy to set about reforming their disjointed, distracted way of life. How he managed with his 50 rough milites, feudal knights, with his lazy farmers, remiss refractory monks. So that's like lacking care or negligent and stubbornly resistant to control monks. With popes legates, so those are a member of the clergy representing a pope. Viscounts, bishops, kings, how on all sides he laid about him like a man, and putting consequence on premise. So it's a strange usage here, but putting consequence on premise means to load a statement with importance or implications beyond what it strictly warrants. So, for example, if you beg the question or assume the conclusion, those are like the closest modern equivalents. I'm not totally sure why this phrase was used here, but let's keep reading. So, how on all sides he laid about him like a man, and putting consequence on premise, and everywhere this saddle on the right horse, struggled incessantly to educe organic method out of lazily fermenting wreck. Educe means bring out or develop something latent or potential. So he's trying to bring about the organic method. He's trying to organically make sustainable, lasting reforms in the lazily fermenting wreck of the abbey. How he was able to do all this, the careful reader will discern, not without true interest, in these pages of Jocelyn Boswell. In most antiquarian quaint costume, not of garments alone, but of thought, word, action, outlook, and position, the substantial figure of a man with eminent nose, bushy brows, and clear flashing eyes, his russet beard growing, russet means reddish-brown, so his russet beard growing daily grayer is visible, engaged in true governing of men. It is beautiful how the chrysalis governing soul, chrysalis means the pupal stage of a butterfly when it's enclosed in a hard case and undergoes transformation before emerging in adults. Love it here. It is beautiful how the chrysalis governing soul, shaking off its dusty slough means to shed and discard something old or dead, usually either literal, like skin or tissue, or figurative like habits, beliefs, and conditions. So Carlyle is commenting, it is beautiful how the chrysalis governing soul, shaking off its dusty slough and prison, starts forth-winged, a true royal soul. So we're seeing literally the transformation of Abbot Samson from a once powerless man, but with a noble soul, into an actual ruler of men. Forth-winged means the wings having spread out. Our new abbot has a right, honest, unconscious feeling without insolence. That means rude, disrespectful, or arrogantly bold behavior. So without insolence, as without fear or flutter. So he's not acting out of ego, out of fear, out of flattery, out of anxiety. He's not acting out of any of this. He has a right, honest, unconscious feeling. That's the core of Abbot Samson's generative and governing power, of what he is and what others are. A courage to quell the proudest, an honest pity to encourage the humblest. Withal, there is noble reticence in this Lord Abbot. Much vain unreason he hears, lays up without response. So he's very interesting. He's able to match the proudest man with courage to quell the pride. And he's able to encourage the humblest. It's not like the abbot is a one-note kind of man. He's not always aggressive. He's not always one way. He's adapting to the people that he sees. And he's doing so pretty much with reticence. So he's not a very talkative man. He hears a lot. He doesn't say much. He's not there to expect reason and nobleness out of others. He is there to give them of his own reason and nobleness. Is he not their servant, as we said, who can suffer from them and for them, bear the burden their poor spindle limbs totter and stagger under, and in virtue of being their servant, govern them, lead them out of weakness into strength, out of defeat into victory? I mean, is this not a wonderful descriptor of a good governor? Somebody who sees the burdens you're struggling under and leads you out of them. Somebody who can suffer from them and for them. One might even argue this, like suffering from them is one of the ways that mark a tyrant from a righteous governor, if he's open to correcting them. One of the first Herculean labors Abbot Samson undertook, or the very first, was to institute a strenuous review and radical reform of his economics. It is the first labor of every governing man, from pater familias, so family, head of the family, to dominus rex, the king. I found this marking is my own. I found it interesting that this very definite statement, it is the first labor of every governing man. Get your money in order. That's the first labor of governance. To get that rain thatched out from you is the preliminary of whatever further in the way of speculation or of action you may mean to do. Literally, the first thing you have to do is to thatched out means to be sheltered from rain. So it's a plant material sheltering and covering a house. And as we know from previous chapters, Abbot Samson was actually trying to repair a leaky roof that the previous abbot was not paying any attention to. And so he had started this process and he has to finish that. Like, first, order needs to be restored and additional damage needs to be curtailed. Old Abbot Hugo's budget, as we saw, let me check one thing. Yes. Old Abbot Hugo's budget, as we saw, had become empty, filled with deficit and wind. To see his account books clear, be delivered from those ravening flights of Jew and Christian creditors, pouncing on him like obscene harpies wherever he showed face, was a necessity for Abbot Samson. I love this word. Ravening means to feed greedily. One fun fact, so as I was working on formatting this text, I asked AI, like not to change anything or do any annotations, but to modify something about the white spaces here. And as it consumed the text, it refused to do anything. And for a minute, I was confused. Turns out, if you say stuff like Jew and Christian creditors and harpies and stuff, it locks up the AI, which I found amusing. So I had it done locally instead. Okay, so first order of business, we need to get the economics in order, and we need to stop the creditors from breathing down our neck. On the morrow, after his installment, he brings in a load of money bonds, all duly stamped, sealed with this or the other convent seal. Frightful, unmanageable, a bottomless confusion of convent finance. So apparently I think they have maybe IOUs or something authorized by all sorts of different people, and he is bringing them all together, like what do we owe to whom, how much. There they are, and then I love this, but there at least they all are, all that shall be of them. So the first order of business is economics, and the first order of cleaning up the economics is to take an accounting of what you owe to whom, like all of it. No hidden corners, no surprises later. We need to know precisely how deep this rabbit hole goes so that we may climb out of it. Our Lord Abbot demands that all the official seals in use among us be now produced and delivered to him. So the seals are, you can think of it as like spending authority in this case. 33 seals turn up and are straightway broken and shall seal no more. The abbot only, and those duly authorized by him shall seal any bond. So very harsh, like lots of power is taken away from monks who are able to authorize various expenses. Now to get anything done, they have to justify their expenses to the abbot. There are but two ways of paying debt: increase of industry in raising income, increase of thrift in laying it out. With iron energy, in slow but steady, undeviating perseverance, Abbot Samson sets to work in both directions. I love this description of how Abbot Samson operates, and frankly how any good governor has to operate in chaotic times, and ours are, I feel, certainly chaotic times. Slow, steady, undeviating perseverance. I always get the image of like a stormy ocean, but there's a big ship, and the ship is just like slowly and steadily going through that ocean, like an icebreaker. Kind of inevitable. No matter how many waves crash up upon it, it is gonna hold its course. Slow but steady and undeviating perseverance, Abbot Samson sets to work in both directions. His troubles are manifold, so both directions being both increasing industry, increasing incomes, and reducing expenses. His troubles are manifold: cunning milites, so cunning knights, unjust bailiffs, lazy stockmen, so these were people that were renting land from the abbey. He, an inexperienced abbot, relaxed, lazy monks, not disinclined to mutiny in mass, so they might rebel altogether, all the monks, because their powers have been taken away. But continued vigilance, rigorous method, what we call the eye of the master, work wonders. It's amazing what works wonders in a chaotic environment. Continued vigilance, rigorous method, and the eye of the master. The clear, beaming eyesight of Abbot Samson, steadfast, severe, all-penetrating. It is like fiat lux, that means let there be light, comes from the book of Genesis. and is used figuratively to mean the moment of creation, illumination, etc. So it's interesting how the abbot's beaming eyesight is compared to God's illumination of the universe. Fascinating. It is like fiat lux in that inorganic waste whirlpool, penetrates gradually to all nooks, and of the chaos makes cosmos and ordered worlds. Love this description. I think that clear beaming eyesight, one has to think about this. So if it's a clear and beaming eyesight, clear and beaming light, radiating everything, it sounds like Abbot Samson is, it's kind of how like light is inevitable. You can shine a light into a cave, and like if it bounces in from many places, even the darkest corners of the caves might be illuminated. So we get a sense of like relentlessly perceiving all the nooks and crannies, very detail-oriented, doesn't leave anything in the dark, is not afraid to perceive anything, and through the perception, it actually orders things. So as the perception of Abbot Samson gradually goes to all the nooks of the abbey, all the ways that it's operating, all of the money that is owed to people, who are the different operators, as that understanding grows, the chaos becomes a cosmos. Fascinating description. He arranges everywhere, struggles unweariedly to arrange and place on some intelligible footing the affairs and dues, res ac reditus of his dominion. So that's the eyesight. It's like categorizing, making it intelligible, systematizing. The Lakenheath eels cease to breed squabbles between human beings. So if you remember in the past chapters, particular groups of people in the abbey had to contribute yearly by giving a certain number of fish, basically, from Lakenheath to the abbey. But they were making all sorts of excuses to not do that. And that ceases to be a squabble. So he's arranging and systematizing that. The penny of reaped silver to explode into the streets, the female Chartism of St. Edmundsbury. So this is when the was it Culinaris, the head of the kitchens, was coming to collect money, and the women were protesting that, and it was causing massive scenes. All of these like problems between people, squabbles between people, quiet down. These and innumerable greater things, whatsoever disorder may stand or lie, let it have a care. Here is the man that has declared war with it, that never will make peace with it. There's Abbot Samson will never make peace with disorder. Man is the missionary of order. He is the servant not of the devil and chaos, but of God and the universe. Let all sluggards and cowards, sluggard means habitually lazy or sluggish person. Let all sluggards and cowards, remiss, false-spoken, unjust, and otherwise diabolic persons have a care. This is a dangerous man for them. He has a mild, grave face, a thoughtful sternness, a sorrowful pity, but there is a terrible flash of anger in him too. Lazy monks often have to murmur, "Saevit ut lupus," he rages like a wolf. Was not our dream true? If you remember when the 13 monks went to King, I think, was it Henry II, for the next abbot to be elected, there were people in the abbey, the people left behind in the abbey, who were dreaming that the next abbot would be like a wolf. And so this like flash of anger that you can barely detect, because he's a very reticent man, but this thoughtful, the flash of anger hiding behind all of the thoughtfulness and sorrowfulness, That was dreamt of, actually, when by the people in the abbey. To repress and hold in such sudden anger, he was continually careful and succeeded well. Write Samson, that it may become in thee as a noble central heat, fruitful, strong, beneficent, not blaze out, or the seldomest possible blaze out, as wasteful volcanoism to scorch and consume. Very interesting, the place of anger in a man, in a righteous man. He rages like a wolf. He has these enormously intense feelings of anger, probably at the years of accumulated laziness and indolence and irresponsibility, just accumulated grime and dirt. Watching all of that, it must be very difficult. He's facing a lot of momentum as he's trying to turn the ship right. And yet, Carlyle is commenting that Samson is very careful not to give in to his feelings of anger, and let them come out wastefully like a volcano, but instead use it as noble central heat, turning the anger inside you into a noble central heat that is fruitful, strong, and beneficent. That is just incredible. This is the second time I've heard it in recent memory. This idea of channeling your anger into productive causes, how central, how important that is. We must first creep and gradually learn to walk, had Abbot Samson said of himself at starting. In 4 years, he has become a great walker, striding prosperously along, driving much before him. In less than 4 years, says Jocelyn, the convent debts were all liquidated, which is incredible if you think about it. Because I remember a couple chapters ago when Abbot Hugo's debts were hinted to us, the calculation that basically a debt of like 1x soared to 37x over Abbot Hugo's lifetime. And over the span of just a couple of years, they were not able to pay it anymore. So the abbey was in a, not just like linearly, but exponentially bad position financially. And within a span of 4 years, that's not a lot of time, he turned the ship around. The ship being the economics. The harpy Jews not only settled with, so this is where the AI was freaking out, but yeah, the harpy Jews not only settled with, but banished bag and baggage out of the Banaleuca of St. Edmundsbury. So basically out of the premises of St. Edmundsbury, so has the King's Majesty been persuaded to permit. Farewell to you, at any rate, let us in no extremity apply again to you. Armed men march them over the borders, dismiss them under stern penalties, sentence of excommunication on all that shall again harbor them there. There were many dry eyes at their departure. I loved this must come from Jocelyn, the sarcasm. There were many dry eyes at their departure. Nobody cried. It is, what are you going to do? If you use usury, if you're on the benefiting side of usury, and the population gets rid of you at some point by banishing, no dry eyes. Nobody feels particular sorrow. It is fundamentally like a very, very hostile act from one community to another, usury, we have to admit. So just as today, as well as then, nobody will, be very charitable towards usurers, as always. But I loved, that one of the second thing, this is now the second thing. The first thing was to get the economics in order, to increase the income, reduce the expenses, settle all the debts and stuff. The second is now the open door of the temptation of usury is banished. And the king has been persuaded. So not only did Abbot Samson settle the debts, but he's trying to prevent ever sliding back into those debts by literally taking away the opportunity to do so physically. New life enters everywhere, springs up beneficent. The incubus of debt once rolled away. Now, you're going to love this if you don't know. I didn't know what incubus means. Incubus means a male demon believed to lie upon or oppress sleepers, causing nightmares or distress. And by extension, any oppressive burden, haunting fear, or troubling influence that weighs on the mind. It's such an image, like somebody sleeping and male demons oppressing them in what is supposed to be a time of rest. So Jocelyn/Carlyle says, once the incubus of death, once this demon of death is rolled away, new life springs up everywhere. Samson hastes not, but neither does he pause to rest. Interesting again. So enormous things have been accomplished, but Samson doesn't increase his speed or decrease his speed. We really get the image of a man who is very, very steady in his course. This of the finance is a lifelong business with him, and Jocelyn's anecdotes are filled to weariness with it, as indeed to Jocelyn it was of very primary interest. Fascinating, like once the finances have been cleared and there's no more debts owed, the vigilance of Abbot Samson continues. He keeps a very close eye on the finances, and he's vigilant about never sliding back there. But we have to record also with a lively satisfaction that spiritual rubbish is as little tolerated in Samson's monastery as material. With due rigor, Wilhelmus Sacrista, his Bibations and Tassenda are, at the earliest opportunity, softly yet irrevocably put an end to. So Wilhelmus Sacrista was the man in charge of the holy relics, and previously, in the previous abbot's time, he was basically known as a drunkard. And softly yet irrevocably. I mean, you get the sense that Abbot Samson, when these like troublesome people exist in his under his care, his way is not very loud. His way of dealing with them is not loud. It's almost like suffocating them with a pillow in the dead of the night. Just like gently yet irrevocably dealing with them. Not making a scene becomes very important. Really, this like not making a scene needs to be thought of more, because the various squabbles between the people, as they subside, we get the sense that Abbot Samson's vision for the public airspace, he's controlling that much more, which is an interesting way of thinking about governing, like the governing being the art of controlling the conversation between people, which just entered my mind, but it's an interesting theory of governance, or interesting objective of governance. The Bibations, namely, had to end. Even the building where they used to be carried on was raised from the soil of St. Edmundsbury, and on its place grow rows of beans. He's literally like not only making sure to put an end to this visibly drunk monk, the practices of this visibly drunk monk, the location that people associate with the drunk Wilhelmus Sacrista, that location is turned into rubble, and now beans grow there. He's literally controlling the collective memory and taking charge of the collective memory of the abbey. Wilhelmus himself, deposed from the sacristy and all offices, retires into obscurity. He no longer is part of the public life. Into absolute taciturnity, unbroken thenceforth to this hour. Whether the poor Wilhelmus did not still, by secret channels, occasionally get some slight wetting of vinous, or so that means I think wine, or alcoholic liquor, now grown in a manner indispensable to the poor man? Jocelyn hints not. One knows not how to hope, what to hope. But if he did, so one doesn't know. I mean, maybe the guy still continued drinking occasionally in the dead of the night. But that's the thing. He is quiet about it, and it would be in the dead of the night. If he did, it was in silence and darkness, not exposing the public to it, with an ever-present feeling that teetotalism was his only true course. So Abbot Samson absolutely controls the moral frame here. It is wrong to drink. Teetotalism is the right way, and maybe he may slip up, but if he even did, like, the public doesn't know about it, first of all, but second, even if he did, he has been persuaded of that's like a sin. It's not a choice. Drunken, dissolute monks are a class of persons who had better keep out of Abbot Samson's way. Saevit lupus was not the dream come true, the being like a wolf, murmured many a monk. Nay, Ranulph the Glanville, justiciary in chief, took umbrage at him, didn't like him first, seeing these strict ways, and watched farther with suspicion, but discerned gradually that there was nothing wrong, that there was much the opposite of wrong. And this Ranulph the Glanville, he is a chief justiciary of England under Henry II, and he was the king's chief judge, basically, one of the highest offices of the realm. And even though he was initially suspicious, he grew to like the Abbot Samson and his ways. Thank you for joining me for a reading of Thomas Carlyle's Past and Present, Book 2, The Ancient Monk, Chapter 10, Governments.